Hey everyone, Brad Sousa here. I'm going to do something I said I never would do on LinkedIn. You heard me, I get it. LinkedIn is not Facebook, it's not Instagram, it's not about personal stuff, it's all about business. I totally get it. But lately, my conversations related to business have been really focused on personal things, and in particular, it's been focused on the topic of hope. Now, hope is something that we all need, especially if we're going to be able to lead others and elevate our own game and level up to where we want to be for our business careers. But hope is something that's kind of missing these days, it seems. So I've invited a friend of mine. You might know him. His name is Jim Morris. You might remember him from the Disney movie The Rookie. And Jim and Shauna, his wife, are friends with Janelle and I. And it seems like every time I have a conversation with Jim, I always leave the conversation with more hope than what I had at the beginning. And so what I want to do here is I want to have that conversation with you and with Jim and see if, as a result of that, you might find a new hope for your world and for your business as well. Let's have a call with Jim. Hey, Jim, good to see you.
Hey, Brad, what's up?
It's man, things are good, but things are interesting. It seems like that's the way it is everywhere these days, huh?
Very interesting, man. Feel a little bit locked up right now, so we're just trying to stay busy and be busy and plan.
Well, Jim, here's what I've done. I've done a short 1-minute intro to our call together, just so that people understand the context of the conversation that you and I are having. And it's really around this topic of hope. I shared with people on the intro video that I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you where I didn't have more hope at the end of the conversation than I did when it started. And it just seems like that's kind of the way it is with you. And you've kind of walked in a life that's maybe brought hope that was unexpected most of the time. So,
Oh, quite a compliment. Thank you.
oh, you bet, man. So let me tee up this topic of hope for us. So for me, hope is the belief that something good is about to happen, even though the circumstances might indicate otherwise. And I know that that's been a common theme throughout your life. I'm thinking of like your major league tryout. I would guess that the circumstances probably said that it would end up different than it did. Would you mind telling the story? I love the story.
And these kids, they win the championship, so I got to find a tryout. The one I had found was in Dallas. 30 teams represented, 500 kids, 18 to 24 years old. I find one in Brownwood at Howard Payne University, my old school. I go to that one, Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Doug Gasaway's a scout. He's about 70. I show up. I'm in softball pants with my gut hanging over the elastic band, which obviously is different in the movie. Thank you, Dennis Quaid. But I'm looking out at all these kids, tall, thin, athletic looking, brand new bodies, brand new gear. I get out of the car with my 3 kids who are 8, 4, and 1.
And how
And
old are you at this point?
35.
Oh, man.
And nobody will even play catch with me, not even warm up. And so I play with my kids. I go up to the sign up table. I explain everything to Doug, what's going on. And when I said, I made a promise. And I said, I'm living up to this promise. I said, it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be humiliating, but I'm doing it. He goes, why didn't you just cut your hair off like every other coach? And I'm like, dude, where were you 3 months ago? He goes, I'm letting you throw, but you're going to throw last, man. These guys are here for serious business. They want to be ball players. So you wait around, you go play with your kids, and I'll call you when everybody's done. And everybody tries out. They throw from the outfield, they hit, they run. He asked me if I wanted to run. He goes, we got to run the 60. You want to run? I said, I don't run. I just want to throw. That's enough embarrassment for me. Because by the end of the season, Brad, with those kids, I couldn't get those high school kids out. I'm throwing everything I've got, and they're hitting me all over the field.
Wow.
And so I get to the tryout, and I'm like, this is going to be so humiliating. I can't believe it. So I wait 4.5 hours, change diapers, get sunburned, play games with my kids. We have a picnic. He hands me the ball. He said, how many pitches do you need to warm up? I said, to warm up, none. I just want to throw, run off the field, hopefully remembering to grab my kids. And he giggles at me. So he walks back behind the backstop. He picks up his radar gun. He goes, anytime you're ready. This young kid catching me gives me a sign for a fastball. I wind up, I throw it, and it's a good pitch. I'm like, man, that's a strike. Awesome. I look over the catcher's head behind the screen. His Gasaway shaking his radar gun. I'm like, I don't even throw hard enough to register. That is more embarrassing than I thought. And he keeps having me throw. All the young guys threw like 20 pitches. When I get up to 60, I think they're making fun of the fat old guy, and I'm not laughing. I'm sweating. And one gun turned into two, two radar guns turned into three. And finally, when I got the idea what was going on, he looks at this kid, and they'd all put up their stuff back in the cars, but the parents and the kids started wandering over while I was throwing. I thought, I'm either doing really good or really bad. I don't know. And he goes, hey, kid, grab a bat and get in. He goes, you want me to get in a box against that? And I thought, oh, maybe it's a little different than I thought. And I finally get done. My 1-year-old's crying. They've been in the sun. I get him to put him in the car, and Gasaway meets me. He goes, I remember you from Ranger Junior College. He said, back then you were tall and thin. You threw like 88. I said, yes, sir. He said, you were a football star. I said, yep. He goes, and everybody wanted to make a picture out of Jimmy-Morris. I said, yes, sir. He goes, well, son, I don't know what you've done your time off aside from eat, which, thank you. He goes, but the first pitch you threw was 94. Everything after that went up to 98.
Wow.
And I'm stunned. And he goes, I can't explain it. And I said, I can't either. I said, when I was young, I threw 88. I said, at 28, I had a surgery in which the doctor said, never, ever, will you ever pitch again? 85% of the muscle is gone. He goes, you have 85% of the muscle out of your shoulder? He goes, how are you throwing? I said, apparently pretty good. And he laughed at me. And he said, there's two things going on. When you're a man and somebody goes, you're throwing 98, there is a happy dance going on in your brain. But as an educator, the first thing I thought, you're throwing 98 at high school kids. Man, you're getting sued is what you're getting. And he goes, don't be surprised if you get a phone call. They're going to think I'm crazy. I found out they hung up on him 3 times. And
Oh, no kidding.
yeah, they thought he used to be a drinker, and they thought he was drinking again. He calling a 35-year-old lefty throwing 98. And so I get home. It wasn't one phone message. It was 12. And
Wow.
they wanted me to come back. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I mean, all that's interesting. But as the movie came out, John Lee Hancock, the director, and I are talking to all the Disney people in their theater at Burbank.
Yeah.
And he's telling the story about everything that was true and stuff that's not true. And he started to go, and the rain thing, Mike Rich just threw the rain in and him throwing in the rain. I said, oh no, dude, you don't understand. When I went back the second time, it was raining so bad they had to hand me a brand new baseball every pitch. It's lightning everywhere. I would never, ever allow my high school kids to be anywhere near the field during that. I've got spikes on. My 3 kids are watching, and half my baseball team as I'm throwing to the head coach at Howard Payne University in the rain. And John Lee Hancock was stunned. 98 every pitch, signed a contract. 3 months later, I'm in the big leagues, all because of a group of kids who, when I had hope and faith in them, they had it in me, and we pushed each other. We made each other better.
Yeah, I love this story, and your whole life has lived that out through all sorts of circumstances. I want to talk a little bit more about the conversation with the kids, because one of the things I've learned, I think, through life is that hope is different than wishing. Wishing is the expectation that something better is coming along, even though I don't do anything. Hope has this kind of idea with it that says, I believe that something good's about to happen because there's truth in what I believe in. When you first started to talk to your players about becoming champions, and that life could be bigger than what they expected for themselves, I mean, hope had to be like the main ingredient in that conversation. Describe that.
I love what you're saying there, Brad, but I will add to it.
Yeah.
You have to have hope, but you have to have a plan. And when you have that plan, then you have to enact that plan and strategize how you're going to attack hope.
Yeah.
And for these kids, it started from the ground up, and we had to learn to wear our uniforms correctly. We may not be good, but we're going to look good being bad. And then it turned into, we're not going to talk to the other team. We're not going to feed into that beast. The only thing we're going to talk about is to ourselves. And the only thing we're going to say on this baseball field is we're going to build each other up.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying. to walk a guy. Nobody's trying to give up a home run. Nobody's trying to drop a ball. We're all trying to do this thing, and it's each individual having to do their job that makes a team work. And it's not just the guys on the field, it's everybody. It's me, it's the field, it's the guys on the bench, it's the athletic trainer, it's the scorekeeper, it's the announcer. All of us make up this team, and we're all here to do our jobs. And if we hope and push each other, we're going to get better. And we did.
Yeah, I really like what you said, because you've changed my perspective. Wishing is hope without a plan, maybe, right? Wishing is hope. Wishing is expecting something different, but doing nothing about it. Hope is believing in something enough to take action with it. And I know you well enough to know that you've had, this whole experience with your players, and then pitching in the major leagues, and the movie and everything. That's awesome, and I celebrate that about you, of course. But this has been who you are, quite honestly, through your life. And I think of the need for people to believe and hope in something, even though the facts that they're looking at might say to them otherwise, right? I think about you and your fight with sickness. I think about you and the number of surgeries you've been through, or different health challenges that you've had, and I believe that the truth of those diagnoses that you had, they were true, but they were just a snapshot in time. They were factual, maybe I should say, but it was just a snapshot of the fact at that moment. Truth, what you chose to believe in, was something different than that. You mind talking about some of that?
Wow, that's a long journey, because we can plan for anything we want to, and then life can blindside us. Let's take what we're going through right now as a world, and it's just put us in stop mode. But there comes a point where you have to make up your mind. Am I going to sit here? Am I going to take this? Am I going to lay down and just let people roll over me, and just, this situation is too much? And I'll be honest with you, and there's some things, I know you read the book, but there was a point in time where I had to drag my leg, and I'm in several Parkinson's groups, right? And so my deal with my grandfather being in my life from 15 to 18 and watching him go through ALS is have a sense of humor. He taught me about laughing. And so I'm taking my leg for a drag, and I put that on my Parkinson's groups with them, and they laughed and hee-hawed, because I'm out there moving, and we're not going to stop, and we're going to keep going. And it doesn't, medical professionals can tell me anything. When I went back to baseball, they go, there is no way you throw 102. It is impossible. We've x-rayed your arm. We've MRI'd it. We've had you throw with electrical things on your arm so we could look at it on a computer. And you throw 100 and you have nothing in your shoulder. I said, you don't know what you're looking for. There's something a little bit deeper than what you're going for. And it was Dr. Job, Frank Job, who started Tommy John surgeries. And he goes, if you figure out what it is, you tell me, because I'm going to sell it and get rich. I go, dude, you're rich already. And he goes, you're the most amazing athlete I've ever seen. You bounce back like nobody I've ever seen. And I said, I have been so used to people telling me no as I grew up, that I'm going to overcome that no. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to bite, and I'm going to claw, and I'm going to plan, and I'm going to enact, and I'm going to come up with a game plan that's going to help me overcome whatever circumstance I have. And sometimes something bigger than me takes over and goes, all right, you've taken that as far as you can, let's do something else. And so during these 2 months, I'm allergic to computers, and I've started doing virtual meetings with companies across the country. And, it's a plan. You enact it, and you go, and you don't stop. Because as soon as you stop, somebody else is going to pass you by, and they're going to grab that silver ticket that gets them exactly where they want to be. And you're going to be looking, going, that's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah.
Why did I stop? You can never, ever stop. So even when I couldn't move, and I was in the middle of all the Parkinson's thing and all the 50 surgeries in 20 years, and constantly being on opiates, I still never stopped. I still was looking for a way out. I was still planning. I was fortunate enough to have great people around me, my wife being the most incredible person I've ever been around. And then raising 5 kids. You don't want to stop. You don't want to stay stagnant. You don't want to look around and go, I'm setting a horrible example. I need to get busy. I need to get up. I need to go. And you already know the ending. The people that are listening don't, but I don't have Parkinson's anymore. And let me tell you something else, Brad, you don't know. It's not in the book. I haven't told you. I haven't told anybody. I'm running again.
Oh my, really?
Yep.
Dude, come on. Way to go. Here's the,
there's
go
no
ahead.
limits. There's no limits to hope.
Mm.
Why not set it so high that you think that if I could reach that, that would be amazing. Michael Jordan needs to be able to reach that. Why can't we reach that? Set the ceiling so high we have to reach up beyond our grasp.
So Jim, I know for me, hope is part of the fuel that I burn to get from what I think is a promise to the possession of that vision. Yeah. And I know that there's so many people right now that are struggling with hope. They're saying, man, I've tried everything. I feel like everybody's taken away from me my ability to control my life, or everybody's taken away from me. My situation is not what I expected it to be. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask us to wrap up on this part of the conversation. I'm going to invite all of those that are listening. I'm going to invite you over to my Twitter channel. That's Brad Tech Dad on Twitter. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know that LinkedIn is really about business stuff, and we're having a conversation around hope. But on my Twitter channel, it's really about personal. And you're going to get an inside story, an inside peek to Jim and to myself around why hope is so relevant to us. And I believe, quite honestly, that hope is something that we can transfer to each other. And so that's what we're going to spend some time doing. Now, before we end this call, Jim, why don't you update everybody on what normal life is like for you? What are you doing these days as a career?
As a career right now, I'm a motivational speaker, but I'm doing it virtually right now. But if you want to reach me, definitely virtual is awesome. I don't even have to leave my house. I don't have to have pants on. You don't know it. But Jimmy-theRookie-Morris.com is how you reach my people, and they'll get back to you and we'll set something up. We've just thrown prices out there for people. They're like, sure. I'm like, cool. I don't have to travel. I don't have to go to the airport. I don't have to put a suit on. That's awesome. But JimTheRookieMorris.com, and we'll hook you up.
Okay. And you got a new book. It's getting ready to come out. The title of the book is? Oh, there you go. Nice.
Dreammakers. Dreammakersbook.com. You go there, you get a 30% discount. It's signed. It comes out June 23rd. You can pre-order. It'll show up on June 23rd. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And it took us 20 years to get the ending, but the ending is fantastic. But I'm not going to talk about it on LinkedIn.
You should. I've read it and I love it. So for all of you that are watching, we're going to say goodbye here, but we're going to see you over on my Twitter channel at Brad Tech Dad on Twitter. So thanks, Jim. I love you, man. And we'll pick this up in a minute or two.
Thanks, Brad.